Yasu guys, Nico and Antoni here.
And today we're cooking whole chickens on the charcoal rotisserie.
Ela, pame.
For the first part of this recipe, we're going to be making our own stuffing. We're going to use a whole loaf of continental bread. We're also going to be using fresh oregano, fresh thyme, garlic and brown onions. For the first part, we're going to be making our own breadcrumbs. We're going to remove the crust and then put the bread into the blender.
When we make our stuffing, we prefer not to have the crust. It is optional. If that's something you might like, feel free to leave it on. To make things easy, we like to just have a bowl on the side. We pop all our pieces in here. And then once we're done separating the crust, we then start with the food processor.
All the bread is blended and this is the consistency we're looking for. The next step is to dice up 3 onions.
Make sure you wear your goggles when you're dicing up the onions. Anthony's instructed me not to put the camera on him here. He doesn't want you to see him in his scuba set. They make him shed a bit of a tear. So once you've worked through your onions, it's time to get started with the garlic. We're dicing up 5 cloves of garlic and we're gonna add it to the mix. And lastly, we're gonna finely slice 8 grams of fresh thyme and 8 grams of fresh oregano.
Now we've prepared all of our ingredients, it's time to get cooking. First thing we're gonna do is add 150 grams of salted butter. Now the butter's melted, we're going to saute the onions. Right, we're going to saute the onions until they're nice and soft.
And I don't know about you, Antoni, but just looking at this, I can't wait to eat. And we haven't even started.
Yeah. Once the onions have been sauteed and they're soft, we're going to add the garlic. We're going to continually mix it so we don't burn anything. Now we're ready to put the thyme and oregano. Now continue mixing. We've turned down the heat, it's time to add the breadcrumbs.
So Antoni's slowly adding it in, bit by bit, and then we're going to continue mixing. It's just about blending it all together.
Finally, it's time to add the salt and pepper. We've got 2 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of pepper.
And guys, always make sure you use a really good quality salt. It makes such a difference.
One last mix, get everything combined well. We'll let it cool down while we're preparing the chickens.
Take it out of the pan and put it into another bowl so it doesn't cook any further. So the next step is we need to prepare our chicken salt, or some people refer to it as the rub. Alright, so the first step is we want to heat it up with 13 grams of pepper. We always start by crushing off our pepper first. Because it's usually a smaller amount compared to the salt, we want to really ensure we crush it nicely to allow it to release its full aromas. Beautiful. So now that the pepper's crushed nice and fine, real dust-like texture, it's now time to add in our salt. So we've got 100 grams of quality sea salt. We'll pop that in. And again, we're just going to continue crushing, mixing away. Alright, now that we've finished crushing our salt and pepper together, it's now time to add in some rosemary and oregano. So we've got 1.2 grams of rosemary and 1.2 grams of oregano. The difference this time though is we're using dried rosemary and dried oregano, whereas previously in the stuffing we'll go on with a fresh herb. Now that that's mixed in well, the next thing we're going to do is add 8.5 grams of sweet paprika. So pop that in. We've got 7.5 grams of garlic powder, and we've got the same amount, 7.5 grams of onion powder. And just blend it all through together nicely, combine it well. Antoni, you want to come have a sniff of that? Yeah, la best one.
Oh, smells good.
Woo! That's ripper. Alright, wow. So we'll show you close up what it looks like. That's the kind of consistency that we're looking for. It's a very nice fine powder, and it's going to be able to be evenly distributed over the chicken nicely. So the next step, we need to go ahead and clean up all our chickens. So the first thing we want to do is remove this excess fat from the inside of the chicken. It's usually just around the edge. So just grab your hand and just peel it off. You can do this with a knife if you prefer, but it's just something I always do with my hands. I feel it's quite quick and easy. Once that's taken care of, we go ahead and stick our hands inside the cavity and just remove any gunk that's been left over, just to clean it up a little bit further. The next thing we want to do is just make sure there's no little feathers hanging around that we don't want. This chicken looks pretty clean. Everything looks quite nice. I'm going to say we're happy with this, and we'll put this one aside. and move on to cleaning up the rest. Now that the chickens have been cleaned up and taken care of, the next step is to go ahead and apply our chicken salt to them. Now we always do this before we put the stuffing inside because we want to be able to get our rub evenly through the cavity as well, just to help give a better flavour. First thing we're going to do is take our chicken and place it on its head like this. And we'll start off by putting the chicken salt inside the cavity of the chicken. You're just going to make sure that's everywhere there nicely. Good little amount. Beautiful. Then place it on its back and basically generously apply it all over. Make sure you get all of the legs, in between the wings. And don't be shy with this. We want a good amount. You will lose some as well as you're cooking. Once that's done, grab it by its feet or its legs, tilt it on its side, and just apply all over. Slowly rotating. Get the little colada. And now we've got it on its breast, and we'll just hit the back up. And continue to rotate again. Going right around. And that's it. We've got one salted chicken. So we'll pop this to the side and we'll continue to work through with all the other ones. Having a big stainless steel tray like this helps so much with our style of cooking because all our salts can drop right underneath it, captures all the juices, and we just keep everything together and not make too much mess around the kitchen. Also as well, it's absolutely perfect for when we're carving meats off the barbecue.
Especially whole lambs.
Especially whole lambs. Alright guys, our chickens have now been salted. They're taken care of. We do have a bit of rub left over, but that's not a problem. It always varies just depending on the size of chicken you have. Our 6 chickens are around 1.5 kilos, but if your chickens are a little larger, this will definitely be enough to take care of the job for you.
Now it's our final step. It's time to stuff our chickens. We're going to grab a handful of stuffing and fill our cavity of the chicken. We're going to close her over and she's ready to be put on the spit. Nico, Ella for a close up. Look at that, Nico.
Lovely, lovely. And this is one of Anthony's favourite jobs. He loves putting his hands inside the chickens.
Yep, always down to get dirty. Alright, now they're all done, we're going to pop them into the fridge overnight, let them marinate, ready for tomorrow. Now it's time to put the chicken on the spit. This is the rod that we're using. This is the 4-prong, just to hold the chickens in place.
And we've got these prongs here, which will go in between the chickens and hold them all together. So Anthony's going to pop the first chicken on. We've got the breast up. And we'll take this all the way down to the bottom. And what we're going to do is pinch around the bottom, above the legs, under the breast. And he's going to push it down to me. And I'm bringing the legs out the back. And there we go. It sits just like that. If you can see that. And that's actually holding the stomach quite closed. So now we're going to stick a prong and stab that into the top of the breast. And now we're going to go ahead and put the second chicken on. Again, we pinch just under the breast, on top of the legs, pull back the legs, and push it down on top of the other chicken, just like that. And Anthony's going to come through with second prong. Beautiful. So onto the third chicken. Now this is a lot easier if you do it standing with the rod upright, but due to our physical location of the roof above us being a little bit too low for the size of this rod, and we have to do it this way, but that's all right. We've got a good team going on. So we've got 3 chickens going one way, and now we're going to flip the rod and we're going to put 3 chickens in the opposite direction, just to help balance it out a little bit. And same thing now, but the opposite direction. Beautiful. And Donnie, you continue with the rest. Now obviously we've got 6 chickens going onto this spit. If you do just have the 1 chicken, all you need is the 1 prong with the 4 arms on it, times 2, and you just put that on either side of the chicken, and that's going to be definitely sufficient for your cook. Or you can use twine and tie it onto the rod, but they're obviously a lot easier. And what you want to do, especially when you've got a few chickens on, just make sure they're all pulled down tight on top of each other. And just like that, we've got it all secured nicely onto the spit. It's all even. We've got 3 in one direction, 3 in the other. It's ready to go outside and light the charcoal.
As always, we're lighting our charcoal with cotton wool and methylated spirits. Gives us a clean burn with no residue.
Alright guys, the charcoal's ready to go, we're going to spread it out, get it to the position that we're after, and we'll be able to pump these chickens straight on. We always compact it down. Now we're going to ash the charcoal as always to get our controlled temperature that we desire. And also, not to burn the charcoal out too quickly. Whenever you're cooking chickens, you want the charcoal to be at a temperature of 5 seconds of being able to hold your hand at the height of the chickens. So our chickens are going to sit up here, and I can hold my hand for roughly 5 seconds before I have to withdraw it. When you're cooking chickens, you want to keep it at a constant heat. We're not altering the temperature or the heights. It stays the same the whole way through, and all we do is just continually just scratch when we need to bring the temperature back up into the positions that need a bit more cooking on the charcoal. With the chickens, we're going to go for around a 2-hour cook at a constant temperature. So we'll check back in. Alright guys, so that's 20 minutes on the dot. You can see a very slight colour starting to form on the chickens. Very even as well. Exactly what we want. It's a very controlled temperature. We're just going to jack up the heat slightly, and when I say jack it up, bring it back to temperature. Bring it back to that 5-second rule. To do this, Anthony's going to use a tong and going to do a real small scratch at the joints of every chicken. So where the feet meet the neck or the head of the next chicken, you give it a slight scratch. Andoni, how's the temperature?
Nico, it's perfect, mate. 5 seconds on the dot. So looking nice and even.
And guys, if you start your whole cook correctly like we have, and copy us when we compact down the charcoal, then ash it correctly, you almost can walk away and not look at this. There'll be no flames, nothing of concern. You can just continue on with your family and your friends and just check back in every 25 minutes and just make sure it's back at the temperature that it should be. And you can see as it spins, watch the water build up through here. The juice is inside. That's killer.
Alright guys, 40 minutes in. Gonna lightly spread the charcoal just to bring up that temperature again. We're just lighting another pile of charcoal to cook some hot chips on to complement the chicken we're cooking.
These chickens are packing. Look at those juices. 1.5 hours in. So guys, we're 2 hours in. We're just gonna give it another 10 minutes. It's sitting at temperature now. We're just gonna brown them up. So we've just scratched the charcoal to give it a bit more color, and then we're gonna take them off. All right guys, so the chickens are at temperature. They're sitting comfortably at over 80 degrees now. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. Added a nice color, so we're gonna take them off and we'll give them a shot. Let's take it off there.
Baby. It smells so good.
And there's the first chicken. Feel like we're in the chicken shop.
Nico, that Nico, I can just tell that is going to be ultimate chicken. Alright guys, the chickens are off the souvla. It's time to cut them up.
I'm starving now, don't you?
Can't wait to taste it.
You gonna cut it or you want me to cut it?
You can do the honors.
Alright, I'm very blessed. So we're gonna start off cutting straight down the middle of the breast. Opa, opa. Open him up a little bit.
Oh. Hurry up, cut it up.
Up the middle. What are we doing at quarters?
Quarters, yeah.
Cut just behind the leg, flip him like this, lift the leg, trace around.
Oh, look at that. Look at that, Nico, nice and juicy. Cooked all the way through.
Oh!
That is so delicious.
I don't know if you can see, come here, if you can see how juicy. This is so moist. Just look at that peel away.
Nick, I'm gonna eat the whole chicken to myself. That is so, man.
You know what? Again, bomba. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this cook.
Like always,
If you want to be a manga,
you gotta cook like a manga.